The live stream is running, just FYI.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm not gonna waste the food.
Push that back. Push this thing closer. The wheel so
Only because then people, if somebody else wants to take during some type of session.
Good evening, welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting this evening, September 19th. I'm going to turn this meeting over to Vice President Cavalieri.
Welcome to the Committee of the Whole. Please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll now turn it over to Samantha Lavarca.
Vice President Cavalieri. Next week at the business meeting, we will have a report on the summer programs led by Mr. Gervaisi, who was the summer school principal. And we'll go for items 2 through 8. Are there any questions on items 2 through 8?
Any questions from the board? 2 through 8?
Okay, items 9 through 16 are more education committee items, appointments, rescindings, and resignations.
Questions from the board? 9 through 16.
There's so many people with sending.
Trustee Vicente, can you speak to me?
Number 11, there's so many people. Are they moving up to a different position or are they decided not to move forward?
People go
Number
through
11.
people go through the whole process. They get appointed, and then when we call them to say, please come to work, they say, no thanks.
Okay.
This is part of the new world of human resources.
Any other questions from the board? No other questions out there?
Okay, items 17 through 23. There is a copy of the budget calendar, if anyone wants to review the budget calendar.
That's on number 20. Hearing officer, is this another name off the list that we get from the state of approved
Right.
office? Okay, so we just added someone new, they added someone new.
Right, we get a periodic email that says, remove this person, add this person, and so we have to just,
It's like clarifying that.
yes, put the resolutions on the agenda to keep our version of the state's version of the partial hearing officer list.
Thank you.
Question, the hold harmless is the same, there were no changes?
Yes, the same agreement that we always do with the village so that we can have events there.
This is number 21.
Yeah. Any other questions from the board?
It's,
Trustee Vicente?
the calendar cross-check to make sure there's nothing
Yes.
going on in the district that could interfere with, people having the opportunity to attend these meetings and so forth.
I believe so. Standard budget calendar. Most of the dates are outlined by, are required. Most of the deadlines are required. We get that from, NISBA usually provides us with a list, and Jordan also gets it from, from legal counsel.
I just want to make sure that there's no show, no holiday thing that parents are having, and then they have to decide, I want to go see my kid, whether I want to come to a budget meeting. Just, want to make sure that we're not having.
We will double check again.
Okay.
A lot of these are
We
in
will
charge.
definitely double
No, I
check
mean,
again.
it's the,
It's very,
That's a very
every
hard
time,
schedule.
every time we think we
It
have the
happens.
calendar right, somebody emails and says, we forgot to think about this. So we will certainly check again. This year, we had an open house on 9/11, so we're gonna make sure that that doesn't happen again, because there are, I went to an event that night, many people wanna go to an event, so that was an oversight, so. And we do appreciate when people give us that feedback so that we can make a note of it in our calendar planning and do it better next time.
Any other questions? Any discussion items?
Okay, just a reminder about the NISBA resolutions. The vote will be taking place on Monday, October 16th. Trustee Garasso is going to be our representative, so I ask that all of my fellow trustees review the resolutions so that next week we can advise Trustee Grasso how we would like him to vote at the meeting. Grosso, you did say it the right way and I keep saying it the wrong way, so I will be checking myself probably for the next 3 or 4 meetings.
I told you it happens, it happens, everyone, it just looks back in there.
I do apologize, I will get it right, I will. Or we're just gonna start calling you Anthony. So please, everybody, next week be prepared for that, thank you.
There's other discussion items?
I had sent home, the board received communication from REFIT, which is an advocacy organization. And they've made a request that the board consider joining their organization for the year. The annual membership is $600. I included information in the Friday update for the board. And I did ask them to send more information about who participates. There are 35 districts in Nassau and Suffolk County who do participate in REFIT. Nassau districts, Elmont, Levittown, Nassau BOCES, North Merrick, Plainview, Old Bethpage, Roosevelt, Uniondale, Valley Street, Thurby, and Westbury.
Okay, what is the direction you need from the board?
Whether you want to participate
Participate
in
in
that
that.
organization who provides advocacy at the state level around equitable foundation aid. So the foundation aid formula did get fully funded, but there are, the foundation formula has not been changed in a long time. And there are, I don't know what the right word is. There are, the formula does not take certain items into consideration. So REFIT is trying to make it so that, downstate doesn't get disadvantaged from upstate, those types of foundation aid formulas. Jordan may be able to give another example of like something that's, should be corrected in the foundation aid. I'm putting them on the spot.
You put me
here.
on the spot, yeah, so, I can get back to you, so
We
there's
can
nothing
give more,
comes to
we can
mind.
give some more.
Trustee Farrar.
I mean, the NISBA state organization, of course, advocates for this. My state organization, the New York State Council of School Superintendents, also advocate for this issue. So there is other advocacy already happening, but they have been advocating specifically around equity in the foundation aid formula.
Trustee Farrell, question?
Are they a new group?
I don't know when they're founded, but they're not new, no.
So we've never joined them
We've
before?
never joined, and they specifically reached out to our board to ask that we join.
And what were the reasons be? I know you may not know that, but what were the reasons why we never joined before?
I had actually never heard about it until I got the email from Refit that they existed. So I'm not super familiar with their organization itself.
Trustee Vicente?
I have a question. Do you know if they advocate on the federal level for DEI, DEA funding? Since we know that, the federal government doesn't give all the money they promised for special education. Do you know if they advocate on that issue as well?
I don't, but I can, I can get these answers and,
I didn't see it, so I'm just
Yeah.
saying that,
yeah, what you have that I sent home is
Is
what
what
I
you
have.
have.
But I knew you would want to know who else participated, so I got that together, but I'm happy to bring these other questions back to them and try to get more information.
Trustee Benelli has a question.
Is there a subscription fee? I mean, does it cost us?
$600, you think?
Okay, thank you.
So, I'm sorry, Trustee Farrell?
The letter that was written to us, wasn't that from a person who was on BA Shown?
Yes.
Was it, so what is his role is on Nassau County or New York State? Nassau County.
Well, Refit is like its own organization, it's not a Nassau County, it's
Home lobby.
Right, but what I'm saying, if he's advocating on behalf of his organization and on behalf of the other ones that already advocate.
because he's a member of both organizations.
Right. It's a little different.
Interest, different lobby groups. that's all. Well, I think there's some questions that need to be done, so we can table this at the moment, get some more information. Boards have a chance to read the information, do their own investigating, look it up, and we'll revisit this.
Very good.
And next discussion item is agendas.
All right. After the last meeting, just two things to touch on quick. Technology, got to kind of use Board Docs, and I like the setup of Board Docs, how we post for the agendas and stuff are all on the websites. It's easy to get to. Just a quick, if we could do technology upgrade to look into is, there's no set time we post them. The parents are busy running around and no one remembers to check, and sometimes you might not check it till the day before the meeting and then you're trying to scramble around. Could we do an email list where we just send that link to whoever wants that link? And they can go to the website, do their own thing themselves. It's just almost like an email list to bring you to that page. So you have the email of like, hey, you know what, they just posted the agenda. Because there is no set time it kind of gets posted.
I like the idea of that, but how would we reach people that aren't in the school community, like people that don't have kids in the schools, that live in the district, that, to get them to sign up for that?
Well, I mean, I guess we could look into how we reach it. You could start with, right now, because my wife's just, Parent Square is kind of how the parents of the district know, but then nobody else knows anyway.
Right.
But if we can get it going that way, then maybe a neighbor say, oh, I signed up to get my agenda this way. And at least it'll start the process of, it's just an email, it's really just an email list that just gets sent out, like, hey, we uploaded the agenda
I
today.
think it has to be, for me, it would have to be across the board. Like, I don't want non-parent community members to feel left out just because they don't have, they're a part of this community, they're invested in what happens in the schools too. You know what I mean?
So I have a question, Dr. Laura, in Board Docs, maybe someone else. Can you sign up for an alert? So like sign up for an alert saying, okay, new document has been uploaded and go visit the Board Docs. So that might be easier. So you sign up for an alert that new doc has been inputted into Board Docs. Instead of emailing an old Board Doc that would overload probably our servers and
Yeah, I was
and the file is probably too big, or even just a link. I think that's cumbersome to get in everybody's email. But if you sign up, I don't know when it's in, it's my concern, I'm gonna go sign in for text, just like school does to get text messages, or the village does to get village information. You sign up, and it may not be possible, but if Board Docs gives you an opportunity to sign up, they just send you an alert that there's a new document in Board Docs. Maybe that would
Something like,
satisfy.
exactly, something
Yeah.
like that, because remember, the people who are going there anyway, the people who the members of the community that aren't going to that website don't know it exists anyway, so
But
if you do it through board docs, it'd probably be easier to streamline than have another system to
Right,
do
so I
it.
think if that's an opportunity, or an avenue we can go to, then that might suffice everything.
So I'm pretty sure that Word docs wouldn't have that functionality on a wider scope. What we've done is we're sending out the notification that there's a board meeting. When we send that notification out, the board agenda is posted at that point. So any parent who is in the community would get that notification that there was a meeting, and then they would be able to go to the website to get the file. We did on our last version of the website, we did have like a community where a community member could sign up for a listserv, and then when we were sending information out through School Messenger, we also sent it out to any community members. We had that up for a while. We don't have that system anymore, so we would have to look into creating a new system of some sort of alert that you're talking about. So we can look into a new notification system. The systems that the like the town and them have, that's like a mass calling system. So we'll have to explore that under the Parent Square to see if there's a possibility of a community component outside of the parents that we can link up to Parent Square. So we'll explore those options, and I will provide you an update with what's possible. But the board meetings are all posted, everything's on the website. We have a new system in place where we're asking the person who posts the web page to return a screenshot of the web page to Mr. Mango, so that we are sure that the timing of it getting posted is more consistent, because really by the day before at close of business, we've produced that, and so I think some of the delay has been in the web, in the transfer of the responsibility from my office having the final version of the agenda and it getting posted on the website in a more timely fashion. So I think moving forward, we changed that system last month, so I think you'll see more consistency in the posting of the agenda on the website, which will be helpful. We do have the Parent Square notification for both the committee meeting and the board meeting, and then we can explore a new community option that we had, which didn't really ever get any traction, to be honest.
Well, that's the other thing. So
I think there was 2 people who signed up when we had that out there, and we did have that open, I want to say, for at least a year. And we only had 2 community members who signed up for it, but we did have it, so I'll report back on that option
Sure.
at a later date.
Trustee Farrell has a question.
I thought last week the community member was asking for it to be posted earlier with the links.
Yeah.
So my suggestion to you was to post it with the committee agenda, which you said would just have to be known to the committee that it is a draft. So are we looking at posting, the links aren't gonna change, the
I don't
agenda
like the
itself
idea of
may.
posting a draft, because I think it creates confusion.
So the committee agenda is not on the website?
No, and the
Because it's
other
not
problem
final.
is I don't always have, putting together the final version of the agenda has a lot of moving parts from a lot of different departments, including legal. So there are times where we are making fine tuning of that, of that agenda and adding those attachments, really,
I think-
really before. So
Right.
I believe it would be much more confusing to put out drafts of the agenda versus working towards making sure that the final version of the agenda is posted in a more timely fashion.
Yeah, I have to agree.
And more consistent, more timely and more consistent, because there has been, I've worked with very generous community members who share their experience on that end. And there has been a disconnect. And so now that we have this new system in place, I'm hoping that we have a better user experience for the community.
Okay, so to wrap this up, do we have a consensus for the superintendent to move forward on finding some type of alert system for people that are out of the school district? Even knowing that last time we tried this, there was only 2 members that joined. So I'll go around the room and we'll see if she has the will of the board to do so. Trustee
Has something
Bezan?
to say?
No.
No, as I saw you
I
turn the
don't
mic,
know,
I
I
thought
feel
you
silly with
had
this
a
mic
comment.
there. You can't hear me across the room, I'm not quiet.
So we need a consensus of the will of the board to move forward with some type of alert system for, because we do have Parent Square for the parents outside. We could get the alerts from Parent Square because the system's already in place.
Yeah.
Going to another system,
Yeah, I would want
Outside.
to jump to another, if we could just look into exploring what we are, if there's options already with what we have to do something more with this, then
okay, so
jump
your
to
answer
another.
would be no, but, all right. So caveat is no outside source. If there's an inside source to move forward with it, not an outside source. Trustee Bezan?
Yes, inside source, yes.
Trustee Farrell?
Inside source, yes.
Trustee Grosso?
Inside source.
Get that right. Trustee Benelli?
Inside and outside, yes.
It's
No, I know, yeah, fine with the inside.
President Barry?
I don't want to give up on the community. I think we'd get more than 2 people. I do, and they're still a part of this school district.
Okay,
So I
well,
don't
we
wanna give
have
up
an
on it.
avenue, I think the majority thinks if, yeah, it'd be okay to find something that's already in our system. So hopefully Parent Square can reach out to the outside population and more than 2 people show up to sign up.
Can I make just comment real quick?
Sure, Trustee
I was
Benelli.
gonna ask you a question earlier, but Dr. LaRocca actually put the correct name to it. It's a list server. It's essentially, and what Anthony's suggesting is something I had brought up with the village, several years ago, and actually 2 years ago here. It's like a list server, you subscribe to it, and this way you don't have to actively
Well,
look at
that's-
it.
right.
You automatically go to work, pops up in your email, pops on your phone.
So we're
Yeah.
trying that with
That
a
costs-
network that we
Just
have.
to throw this out there, we had to mention, it costs a lot, it does cost a lot of money if you do it outside the
So
system.
that's why we're looking for it inside. So
Yeah.
I guess, see if there's something and you can report back to us if there's something. We'll continue to think about it. If you come back, we'll have to revisit. If, okay, there isn't, do we still want to think about it? All right. Next discussion item is source of information.
There you go, all me tonight.
I told you.
I know, well, it's like, this is what I got for
You
being
didn't
here.
believe me?
No.
Right?
So, as being new, there's gonna be things I don't understand, and that's what superintendent's here for, the board's here for, like, that's my first resource. But, making decisions, sometimes it's gonna be educational things, and I know there's committees to sit on and learn as we go, but at the end of the day, sometimes there's gonna be stuff, I don't even know the right question to ask, even though I have that available, I don't have that right question to ask. So, I guess it's more of a question than an agenda thing is, being able to do due diligence on things, and before we vote, is having other sources of income. I know, like I had brought up in that email, I probably confused everything, but like we have the thought exchange and things like that, because I'm sure we can't go direct to, like we're going back to the writing curriculum one. Can't go directly to the teachers and ask them their feedback. Is there any sort of way we can do that so before we make decisions, you can have an outside source? Not saying we're going to disagree with one or the other, but at least it gives us a well-rounded answer when we say, I'll bring it. So the writing curriculum was one where parents came to me after the last meeting and said, oh, well, why'd you go with it? I was like, well, I was there. It was on the spot. Dr. LaRocca answered everything kind of made sense to me. And they said, what did you think about this, or this? And I'm like, no, I didn't. It's a great question. Now, if we would have had the committee meeting before the actual meeting, I think that would have solved some of the gap. But is there a source for us to get those questions and answers before we get to the next meeting, so we can have that well-rounded answer?
So Trustee Grosso, so we usually have a committee where you have the questions before, and at any given time, you could ask the table something for more information.
Yeah.
So, you could ask the board to table it, and you might even ask a question after every vote before the vote is on the question. At that point, you could ask your question. If there's resources that need to be available because the superintendent can't answer that question at the time, we can table it. So, the resources may not always be there, and usually you have the committee of the whole prior to when you ask questions. But even right before the voting, you could ask the question, that's on the question. And if the resources aren't there for her, and it's hard to put the superintendent on the spot with something that you may not know off the top of her head, but then we table it as a board, and we get those questions if it's a legit concern.
And I agree, I kind of got the process from the last round, so I get that, but at the end of the day, like, the only source of information is still going to be the superintendent and the board. But if I wanted to reach the parents or members of the community, or, just in general, are there any other avenues we have to just get other sources of information for the same question? There's a superintendent perspective, and then there's the teacher's perspective, and then there's the parent's perspective, like kind of getting just the one.
Trustee Canaro?
Maybe you're looking for an ad hoc committee, just a standing ad hoc committee for the year, where you invite members of the community, teachers, what have you. Maybe that's what's throwing, maybe that's a help.
I'm just, like I said, I want, when I make a decision and I vote, I want it to not just be like, hey, we'll table it until I get more information, but I want that full kind of source.
Yeah, trustee.
Yeah.
This down superintendent LaRocca.
Oh, we need another superintendent.
I think that we have a lot of, so respectfully, when you get the information from me, yes, it's from the superintendent, but very often I couldn't possibly be doing everything in the district. So generally, very little is only from me, and that is why we have the district committees that the teachers are on. We have parents that are invited. We work very closely with the PTA. We have shared decision-making teams. So I did provide, I know since you asked this question, I've tried to provide you with more context.
Yeah.
So that you can see that. So I wouldn't want anyone in the community to think that the superintendent says something and it's so, after the board votes on it. And so you are, I think we have very good, very robust systems in the district to make sure that all stakeholders are heard. Committees make recommendations to me, then I provide that information to the board. We have plans, that's why you see the plans that are on the website. The professional development plan is on the website. I had nothing to do with the professional development plan. That came from the committee of teachers and parents that Ms. McIntosh runs, and then that is provided to me. I review it, it goes to the board for review, and then the board takes action on those items. So I think when we're making significant decisions to spend a good amount of money on something like a writing curriculum, that's not the superintendent saying, we should spend this money on writing. There has been a host of committee work, community input, plans put in place before we do that. So I think just for that session, it may have seemed like that's all the information that was there, but it wasn't.
Are we allowed to then communicate with the committees that made these, like if we had, if that did come up, so the committee came to this decision, said this was what we wanted, are we then allowed to communicate with the committee ourselves, or would that just?
So you would ask me questions, just like there were questions today that I said that I will come back on. So if you got the recommendation of the committee for the writing, for the new ELA program, and you read the information and you still had questions, then I would go back to my team, and if necessary, then that committee may meet again. If it wasn't something that the administration could answer, and we felt it was necessary, we could have the committee meet again to provide more information. The PDP committee has a survey. When they do the curriculum adoptions, the teachers get forms to fill out, they send it back. So, there's a lot of input from other people. If we did things like have a thought exchange, the only problem again becomes the same problem that we just talked about in the last thing with the agenda, is that how do you reach the whole community sometimes if it's a, if it's a wider community. But we did do a thought exchange as part of the process for the Willow principal hiring.
Yeah, I just thought that was.
It produced, I think, a very, very good response about what the community was looking for in a new principal, and we used that throughout the process. So there are many opportunities I think, for input, and I just keep asking questions.
I'd say I have to ask better questions, that sounds good.
There's no such thing as a bad question.
No, but like, I'll ask better questions, when things get brought up to me, I'll learn for next time, like one of the questions I was asked, I'll make sure to ask you to relay that information back, without needing to have
The
the.
first meeting is difficult though, because you don't have the year's worth of information that you've gotten behind you, and you're asked to vote on it. And it's really like a baptism by fire.
Yes.
So I think your questions are valid, and I think they're natural, because it's an overwhelming process, and you feel like you feel obligated to make a decision where you may not feel like you have enough. Or at the time you did, and then you hear outside input. But I can tell you can have all the information in the world, and you're still gonna get outside input on your decisions.
I said, as long as knowing now that I can have that, if there was a committee already set up, then doing anything else is redundant at that point, just, that's good, but,
Chuck, hold on, excuse me. Trustee Benoni had a question.
Continue with trustee Grosso. Can a trustee be a member of one of those committees, or is there some kind of, we're barred from being a member of that committee? Or even as a silent member?
We can ask Chris that, because I feel like that would be some sort of a conflict.
Even if being a silent committee member?
I don't
What
know
would
what
that
that would
express?
mean, like.
Would that be something you'd be interested in doing?
I know the policy, what you were saying before about your committee, the board can choose to create your own committees.
An ad hoc committee?
Right.
Are you putting teachers on it?
But then there would be ramifications because of contracts for trustees to be part of things. So I really think
That's what I mean by silent.
that would have to be a legal question that the board would need to ask.
We can ask
You want me to
Chris.
ask?
Yeah, we'll ask Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Trustee Vezende had a question?
I just want to say that it is great to hear that you have these questions and that you're willing to learn on how the process is run, rather than just sitting there and assuming. So kudos to you for doing that and being open to listening and asking the right questions. Because it's not easy to, your first year listening and hearing everything, it becomes overwhelming. And as you go on, you will learn more and more. Encourage you to do, a lot of the board trainings that they give you, so you will learn there and continue to ask the questions that you're asking, because that's how you become a very good board member. And, I know you have the interest of the children.
Thank you. Okay, that's all on the discussion items. I asked for a motion to go back into, I'm sorry, trustee
I
Fowler, your
have
question?
a discussion, but I'd like to ask if possible.
Sure.
So, the busing situation. We don't own our own buses. There is,
Hold on one second. Was this a legal matter that we needed to discuss? Or is-
My understanding was that there was a legal question, but I think if Patty wants to just talk about what she's interested in, then I know what to,
Okay, I'm sorry, Patty. go
then
ahead.
I know what to do for next week.
Okay.
okay, so we don't own our own buses. So was there a choice given to the district whether we wanted the bus companies that we use to use those cameras? Because I'm not quite sure what you opted out of.
We
Yes.
That's legal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to,
Okay.
we're gonna discuss that.
Okay.
It's legal.
Just like a comment.
Trustee Benelli, comment?
Thank you very much, Dr. LaRocca. I think you got the electric board working, is that correct? I thought I rode by and I saw it working.
I did not get it working, the tech team got working?
The tech team got it working.
Who
That
did you
wasn't,
use?
Mr. Mango.
wasn't you up there?
Mr. Mango.
We're working on the software. We're small steps, but we're getting
I saw it
there.
working, I said, oh wow, that's
So
awesome.
when you had this big with screwdrivers and had the back off.
You got a hard hat on?
Did I get the dress?
Best.
Has the right shoes?
Okay. If there is no more questions or comments, I need a motion to go into executive session for personal
So moved.
personnel.
So
So
moved.
moved, seconded, moved in second on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are now in executive session. Thank you.
Thank you for coming this evening.
Thank you.
Good night.
Welcome back, everybody.